Hello.
Hello. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. Welcome to the Fantasy Football Brawl. It's week 17 in the NFL. It's our episode 18. And we are so happy that you guys have joined us this week. It is the last week of the regular season, and we promise we are here all the way through the NFL playoffs. But we have one more week of playoff action. You may be in a 2-week fantasy league, and we are not abandoning you yet. We're going to be here. We're going to carry you through the last week, the last half of your fantasy football playoffs. Or if you're just a fantasy football junkie, we just appreciate you joining us for the last week of the NFL regular season. We've got a very special episode this week. We are doing a DraftKings event. It's going to be everybody and your mother, your brother, your sister, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your hated enemy. Oh, maybe your wife, your most hated enemy, or your best friend. Invite everyone this week to our DraftKings event. It's going to be the @Brawl Fantasy DraftKings event. It's going to be entitled The Big Fish because we want all the big fish involved. Mike Perez, Austin, every big fish that's at the Brawl Network is going to be participating. We hope, we expect. So we're looking forward to a lot of fun there. Of course, I'm joined by our experts, my friends, Joah Rosing. Find him on Twitter @72strobro.
Hello there.
And my friend Lucas Berry from Philadelphia, coming back from his trip from Chicago. Find him on Twitter @lberry_40.
What's going on, everybody? Hope everyone had a Merry Christmas or Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. We hope you just spent some time with your family and had a great day yesterday and a great week. If you have time off or if you have to go back to work today, just enjoy that time with your family. The holiday season is here.
That's great. That's great. Be on the look. Actually, follow all of us on Twitter together @Brawl Fantasy, BRAWLFANTASY. That's where you're going to find out the information of DraftKings. That's where you get all of our tidbits and pickups and drops and people who are sick and who are
our
hurt.
polls.
Our polls. Vote on our polls. We love your responses. It's a lot of fun. And something in the works. Be on the lookout for the Fantasy Football Brawls Facebook page. We're going to be putting up a Facebook page. And for those of you who use that as your main medium, you can follow us there very soon. We look forward to
our
that.
page, guys. Our page.
You can also might be able to see our ugly faces on YouTube soon as well. We'll see.
Yeah, my ugly mug is going to be coming to screens all across America. Have fun. It's not going to be pretty.
I had to get a haircut just for the event, just to make sure that I was not, scraggly all over the place.
See, I put on a hat.
Either way works. Thank y'all for joining us this week. I know it's a busy holiday week. Lucas, what did Santa Claus bring you for Christmas?
A big fat fantasy L, baby. I'm so pumped I lost in my championship. Let's go.
That's a sad thing.
Guess Santa brought you a lump of coal this year, Lucas.
No, but I mean, regardless of what happened in my championship, I placed second. I had a great week. I was just in Chicago. I need to give a shout out to my Brawl friend, Austin F. I mean, he's the man. You can follow him at Uncle Mike 21. He hosted me this week in Chicago.
Up, man.
Yeah, him and his fiance hosted me in Chicago. Couldn't be more thankful to them. If you follow us, do us a favor and follow him as well. I'm sure you already do. We'll have to have him on as a guest though. I know he had a great fantasy season. So
Didn't he win the Brawl Network League? I think he did.
Yeah, I think he did. He won with flying colors too. His team was incredible. But big shout out to Austin. We'll have you on here soon, man.
F stands for fantastic, correct?
Yeah, close enough.
Austin
Fantastic. Austin Fantastico.
There you go. And Joe, how are you faring with your Hanukkah, sir? It's still in the middle there. How's that going for you, man?
Getting a little bit of gifts here and there. Got a portable charger, getting some money. I'm feeling good. I won my championship in one of my leagues, so that was a plus. I was very happy that happened. But in my main money league, I unfortunately did not make the playoffs, and I was a little bit sad about that. I lost out on my $20 that I put in the pot at the beginning of the year because we are all broke college students over here, so we don't play for as much money as my man Lucas Berry, who put in $150 and came out with how much for second place?
I won $350 after all the incentives and different events I've won throughout the season, including my second place finish. So we'll take it, but it's not quite what we had hoped for when we started the season. Yeah,
Did
if you're not
you
first,
have,
you're last. If you're not first, you're last.
Did you have a like a punishment for last place for the person in your league?
Mm.
Because I know we talked about it a bit last week.
No, they just lose all their money. That's it. I mean, that's punishment enough. That's a lot of money to just
That
lose.
is a lot of money.
But Joe, I know you were traveling a little bit yesterday. How was your Christmas, man?
Christmas was great with the family. We drove up to Chattanooga. We spent time with my wife's family and my own family. Usually Christmas, it's once you get older, it's less about the gifts and more about the fun and the food. So I ate
Definitely
my tail off, and I probably gained about 10 pounds. My wife said we got to go on a fast, and I told her no.
I also had something else for the fans. Austin was grateful enough to let me join their podcast this week, the House Hall Brawl.
Wow.
I was on there with our previous DraftKings winner, Blake Hantho. We recorded live.
Was he talking some smack to you about it?
No, he did. We just we dissected the Bears game. We went through the whole 9 yards, and we did a nice little interview with Barstool chief. So yeah, you could hear my beautiful voice on their podcast as well. And big shout out to those guys. They were both in our DraftKings segment before.
House Hall Brawl. Good podcast.
That's right.
Very good.
Give them a 5-star. Give us a 5-star on Apple Podcasts, and give them a 5-star too.
Yeah.
I know we have this one weird, immature hater out there who's going around to all the Brawl Network podcasts and giving us 1 stars.
Hey, maybe we deserve it. Maybe we just got to get better. Got to keep honing our craft.
Give us a 5-star. I think that we deserve it. I don't know about you guys, but
that'll be your Christmas gift to us.
No matter
all our
what
listeners, right?
Go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
Yeah. All our listeners, you know what they deserve? They deserve some nice gear from Fanatics. Guess what, guys? This Christmas, I know it's already passed, but
Hanukkah's not over yet, is it?
Yeah, Hanukkah's not over. Maybe you get New Year's gifts. I don't know. But for this Christmas, this Hanukkah, I hope you used our link to buy some gear from Fanatics because they've been supporting us pretty much since the season started. You can go to www.thebearsbrawl.com/fanatics and cop some cheap, nice, official gear for the season, for any season you want. I know Lucas probably copped some 76ers gear.
Big win yesterday.
They just beat the Bucks,
man. Baby.
Made Giannis feel a little salty. Maybe he leaves Milwaukee. We'll see. We'll leave that up to the NBA Brawl to discuss. But other than that, man, I love Fanatics. I didn't get anything this year from them, unfortunately. I was hoping to get maybe a Jose Altuve jersey. Wasn't in the cards this year. But as always, I talk about it every week. I got a Leonard Fournette jersey from Fanatics a couple years ago, last year, I think. And I think that Joe is pointing to the camera about something he got from Fanatics. Looks like a nice Bears hat. Definitely high quality right there. High quality craftsmanship. And we really hope that you use our link and you support the Brawl Network, everybody here at the Brawl Network, at www.thebearsbrawl.com/fanatics.
Yeah, and I just want everyone to know, no matter what team you support, no matter, what gear you wear, what team you rep, the Brawl's going to have something for you. We got Raiders, we got Broncos, we got Bears, we got Jaguars, we got Dolphins.
Even the Packers.
So many NFL teams we're getting Brawl networks from, and we're going to keep expanding because that's what we do. We're taking over Twitter. We're taking over, the major platforms. The Brawl network is coming. We will have something for all of your interests. So thank you for listening to us. But, if you have other interests, like I mentioned earlier, House Hall Brawl, if you're a Bears fan, there's something for you out there. Check them out. If you like it, give them 5 stars. That goes a long way for us.
That's right. So we're going to get right into the episode, and we're going to talk about Week 16. For most of y'all, that was your championship week. Some of you are weird like me, and you play a 2-week championship game into Week 17 because I'm kind of a nerd. I love it that way. But most people all wrapped it up last week, championship week. Let's jump right into it, talking about the number 1 overall draft pick. Yeah, Saquon has been more than disappointing this year if you drafted him number 1 overall. But he said, okay, it's playoff time, and these people drafted me number 1 overall. Last week, 2 weeks ago, I think he went for 30. Well, last week, he topped that and went for 43 in PPR.
Yeah, he almost had 300 total yards. That's insane.
189 yards on the ground, 90 yards through the air, 2 total touchdowns, the top scorer overall in all of fantasy, more than any quarterback. He really paid off his owners who have stuck by his side this week.
See, when he's good, Danny Dimes is good. And that man in championship week, if you picked him up, he threw for 5 touchdown passes and like 350 yards. So that Giants offense was firing on all cylinders. And we're going to talk about
he was quarterback
them later.
one.
He's proving the haters wrong, man. He really is.
Came
I
back
liked
in
him.
off the injury. I like him too. I liked him since the beginning. I fell off the bandwagon a little bit, but then I hopped back on, and I'm enjoying watching him play football. So, and he's putting up some nice fantasy numbers.
Yeah, he's not a bad spot start, depending on who you play him against.
Yeah, he might be my quarterback in DraftKings this week. I don't know.
This is my, Saquon did this last week. What can we expect from Zeke this week against this pretty bad Redskins run defense? And a game the Cowboys have to win. Dak is pretty, he's banged up. Can we expect some kind of like crazy game from Zeke like this week? Is this the week where Zeke just explodes, where he's having a good year, but is this the week where he just, he eats, he goes off?
The 200-yard mark.
Is this it? 200 total yards this week, Joe? I know you're doing you're eating.
I'm a big Zeke fan. So
is this it? Is this the week?
He only had 15 last week, and so it's funny you say only 15. But for
he's
Zeke,
been consistent. He's been consistent.
Exactly. I love consistency. I'm hoping for, a nice 30 to 40 pointer.
I think if Dak is healthy and plays well, then I think that you can expect maybe a 200 total yard game from Zeke.
I don't think he is healthy. I think he's banged up, man.
So I don't know.
He's gotten it out.
Who knows? We'll get into that stuff later. I know that we have plenty to talk about our Week 17 matchups. But I know you guys.
I have a trivia
question.
For you. What is this? Trivia is this week. As my document is slow to load, let's go to the other document. Yeah. All right. So this wide receiver had 15 targets this week, 9 catches, 128 yards, and 2 total touchdowns. He was the wide receiver number 1 overall in all of fantasy this week.
Michael Thomas.
It was not Michael Thomas. Joey, you got a guess?
Can I get a hint? Can I get a
off the radar? He's not going to be your typical guy. That's why I put him as a question mark. Who is this wide receiver? He scored 33.8 points in championship week in PPR.
Oh, I know
2 touchdowns.
I know
2 touchdowns. 128.
Okay. Oh man.
This game went to overtime.
Game went to overtime.
Okay. Redskins wide receiver.
No.
Oh.
I know who it is.
But you're on the right track with some crappy team.
Our
young buck's going to get it.
I can't think of other games that went to OT.
Tyler Boyd.
Tyler Boyd?
It was Tyler Boyd from the Cincinnati Bengals.
Dude, I had an itchy throat there. I'm sorry.
Wait, that game went to OT?
They went to OT.
Yes. Andy Dalton threw a miraculous pass in the end zone, and then to Tyler Boyd, and then they got a 2-point conversion and went to overtime.
So he was your wide receiver number 1.
Of course they did that, and they lost still to the Dolphins.
They were getting their butts kicked, dude. That was a crazy comeback.
Yeah.
I just have to put him on our list because out of all the wide receivers that you're counting on in fantasy football.
Maybe you started him in flex this week.
You know what? My brother was playing in the fantasy championship, and he had Mike Evans and he had Derrick Henry, both who didn't play, and he had a 50-point lead in ESPN, and he ended up losing to the guy that had Tyler Boyd, and he also started Perryman this week. So the guy he was playing, kind of scrapped together a bunch of these guys and scored over 200 points to beat him. He was very upset.
Fortune favors the bold in situations like that.
Well, yeah, like I said, my brother was out of Derrick Henry and Mike Evans. So that's kind of 2 rough blows right there. And Calvin Ridley, too. He went out. His whole team just got decimated the last week. I felt bad, but
that's tough.
He ate that L just like me.
At least you guys were in it together. Speaking of guys who maybe – these guys let you down in fantasy week. These guys let you down in championship week, and maybe if you played them, you ended up on the wrong side of the title. I got a list of guys who are more than disappointing. Russell Wilson only scored 10 points, basically 11, round up to 11. That was disappointing. Tyler Lockett, oh, man, a whopping 2.2 in PPR. Where were you?
That's a really good week.
Yeah, where the heck were you, Mr. Lockett? I needed you. Joe Mixon, our man, he's been on a hot streak. Now, he did fine, I guess.
9.3 is not awful.
It's fine, good. But it ain't no 16, 17, 20 like you've been giving us. Another quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, up there in Green Bay, less than 10, 8.3 points Man, dropping the ball. DeAndre Hopkins. What happened to you, my man? Mr. 99 in Madden, 7.3. Probably our favorite tight end.
Does he have 1,000 yards this year?
Why don't you look that up while I continue this? Zach Ertz, probably our favorite, tight end. Only 6.8 in PPR.
That was not his fault, though. Let's be real.
Broke some ribs.
Circumstances are circumstances, and yes, he got the bad blow with the broken ribs, but we don't care. It's just the points. It's just the output. Yeah,
I heard a thing the next day where he couldn't even lift his arms and put his shirt on, which is crazy. Tough guy.
What a soldier out there. His counterpart.
Adrenaline must have been rushing.
Yes. DeAndre Hopkins is 5th in receiving yards with 1,165 yards this year.
In a down year, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, and he has 7 touchdowns.
He has been kind of down for me. I've been waiting on the 20-point explosion week after week. He's given a couple, but not so good. And I got 3 more. Amari Cooper, major letdown, 6.5 in PPR.
Cowboys offense as a whole.
Stinky. Nick Chubb, 4.5 in PPR. Golly. Not what you want from one of your top running backs in
He's been so
week.
consistent all year, getting like 16 a week. And
that's right. And drops a big old stink bomb on championship week. And DJ Chark, one of our favorites here, only 3.8 after DNP the week prior. So I'm sorry if you started these guys. You probably ended up with a big old fat L like Lucas. Second place is not bad, but golly, these guys let you down. What do you think about this list, Joah?
I mean, it's been a weird year in fantasy. The guys who we expected to go off and go crazy, like Saquon Barkley, have been okay, but, good recently. And the guys who we haven't expected, like Chris Godwin, I expected him. But not everybody was thinking that Chris Godwin would be a huge stud, and anybody on that Bucs offense is really a huge stud, except for O.J. Howard and the running backs. So basically, Bucs wide receivers and Jameis Winston have been awesome this year. But this list makes me think that this is going to be a trend that we're going to see in fantasy football for the next couple of years. The guys who we draft in the top 5 might not be the ones who carry our seasons. And you're just going to have to find the next man up who's going to be putting up huge numbers because the NFL has shifted to a very passing-heavy league. So
it's all about the waivers. It's all about the waivers.
Next man up mentality. Make sure you get those waivers. Make sure you're on those waivers at each and every week. And it's going to be a huge theme next year. And we're probably going to be talking about it a ton. Maybe this offseason, maybe some draft prep. Who knows, guys? This has been a fun year. I've had a great time. I won a championship. I know that, Lucas, you came in second. And, Joe, you're fighting in that week 17 to win that championship. You're down by like 40. Right.
Well, I've got one league where I'm up by 5, and I've got another league where I'm down by roughly 40 to my wife. So need to hold on to a lead and need to stave a big comeback. So we'll see.
Lacey coming in from the top rope.
Yeah,
man.
She suplexed me off the top rope with Saquon Barkley and Julio
awesome.
Jones. And so I'm trying to get off the mat and find a counter.
Yep. I don't know. There's some guys this year who we didn't really see coming. But there's also some guys who we've been on the whole time, and I think that we should take a little bit of time to, mention some of the guys who we've been on since, like, week 1. I know that Chris Godwin was hurt last week, but we've been on him since week 1. I know Lucas's man, Mr. Terry McLaurin, he's been on him since before the season started. And
I have a question for you about that now. Okay.
What?
So Terry McLaurin, he started off real hot, and then he kind of tapered off a little bit when Haskins took over, and he's getting hot again. If you were in a dynasty league and you had to choose between Terry McLaurin and A.J. Brown, who would you take? That's tough. A.J. Brown has been incredible lately. He really has.
Yeah. I'd probably go with –
Go ahead.
I'd probably go with A.J. Brown. Honestly, I think that he's got the higher potential as a wide receiver.
I always said he was the superior wide receiver out of Ole Miss. I always thought he was a lot better than DK Metcalf. Just from
you mean Decaf Metcalf?
Yeah, I'm not a big decaf guy. I think he's just like, I don't know, man. He's just an athletic freak. But I think A.J. Brown has all the tools to be like a great wide receiver.
This rookie wide receiver class has been really nice. Yeah. Decaf Metcalf still putting up some great numbers in Seattle.
People are saying A.J. Brown could be that guy next year. I know it's early to be looking at next year. We're week 17. People are looking at next year already. They're saying A.J. Brown could be the next Chris Godwin, where that's that explosion in the mid rounds, that value pick. There's a lot of hype around him.
If Tannehill continues, and obviously if he stays in Tennessee and continues to put up like these type of games where we're all wondering why the Dolphins traded him for a 5th-round pick, I could see it. I think that Tannehill has really favored some of these wide receivers, and I think that Corey Davis has really been a bust.
Yeah, he's been a disappointment.
He looked like he had a lot of potential in his rookie year. So I'm still skeptical about A.J. Brown. But I think overall, as a wide receiver, comparing Terry McLaurin and A.J. Brown, I think that Terry McLaurin has the higher floor, but I think that A.J. Brown has the higher ceiling.
Right. And this is an awesome conversation. For everyone listening, this is a preview of what we're going to be doing in the offseason. We're going to be talking about guys like this. We're going to be talking about things like this. It's never too late to start preparing for next year, making a list. We're going to have some of our draft experts on the Brawl Network on here talking to us about some rookies that might be coming in. But we're going to be talking about guys, second year, third year breakouts, possibly the A.J. Browns, the Terry McLaurins, the David Montgomerys of the world. We're going to break all that down for everybody.
Have a shot to be huge breakout stars and have a ton of potential, because we've seen rookies have amazing seasons in the past. We've seen Odell Beckham. He carried me to the championship when I was in 7th grade. So that was fun for me back in the day. That's one name that comes to memory. He's not having his best year in Cleveland, though. Come get me is a quote that we've heard.
And then free agency is obviously always huge. Guys are going to be in different situations, which completely can change their fantasy value. So we're going to go over all that in the offseason, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's focus on Week 17.
In the DK mood.
Yeah. It's DraftKings. It's our favorite segment that we do. It's our most fun segment that we've got. And it's a segment where we like to win the listeners' money. Yeah, if you listen to us, then hopefully you guys have won a lot of money this season. We'll start it off by looking at last week's scoreboard. Last week, Week 16, and we had a pretty big score from our champion. Joah Rosing won last week. He got in the winner's circle again. He was for 168.52 points. Our guest last week was Joe Schiller, and he finished 2nd place, but that's not good enough to win. He finished 2nd with 121, and Lucas got himself 113. And then myself, I pulled up the rear, unfortunately, with a big 109, actually a little 109.
I jinxed you.
Yeah, you jinxed us. Actually, Lucas did some big work for us last week. He went through and he put together all the DraftKings standings for the whole year. He figured out who's won what and what the how people have been doing. Lucas is actually right there in the lead. He has won 4 weeks of our contest. Myself coming in 2nd, I've won 3 weeks, and Joah, with this most recent victory, has won 3 weeks as well. Our guests, we've had a lot of guests and a lot of fun with our guests. They've actually only won 1 week. Mr. Blake Haintho, you are the only guest to win. Actually, a fun fact, our guests have finished 2nd place 6 times. But we don't count 2nd place here around the Fantasy Football Brawl. It's all about first. If you ain't first, you're last. And so, Lucas, right there, you are 1st place with 4 overall total victories. Joah, with your big win last week, pulled it up to 3 overall victories. Congratulations to you.
First or last for me, man. That's how it is.
Hey, you know what? It doesn't matter if you're 2nd or 3rd or 4th. If you're not first, you're last. And so this week we're actually having something really fun. We don't have just one guest playing against us this week. We want to invite everyone, anyone, everyone, your mama, your brother, your sister.
Your wife?
Maybe your wife wants to play some fantasy football. And it's going to be the big fish. Everybody's invited. It's Week 17. You may be out of your fantasy football playoffs. Your season may be over, but we're not done. We're playing DraftKings all the way through the end of the Super Bowl, and that means that we're going hard on Week 17. Everyone is invited. There will be invites up on our Twitter, @Brawl Fantasy. You can get in on the competition. You can beat me. You can show Joah who's boss. You can teach Lucas a lesson. All of us, or not. We'll finish 1, 2, and 3 like we usually do. Fantasy Football Brawl style. Get on it, find that invite, and play fantasy football with us on DraftKings. And, Lucas, did you say something about a wife?
I did say something about a wife, and I think we have a very special guest today, Joe. Who is that?
That guest is my wife, Miss Lacey Gaither. She is going to be introducing her fantasy football lineup. This was actually Lucas's idea from last week. I revealed that I was playing against my wife in the fantasy football finals. And Lacey, introduce yourself and tell us how we play a 2-week game, so it's an aggregate score. So how did week 1 go in our fantasy football championship?
Well, week 1 went pretty much in my favor. Thanks in most part to Mr. Saquon Barkley pulling out 46 points. Wow. So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
Yeah, I think Saquon burned a lot of us here on the Fantasy Football Brawl. He was number 1 overall pick and not performing to his standards. But the last couple weeks, has he really paid off your number 1 draft pick?
Oh, for sure. Y'all were hating on him pretty hard for a couple of weeks. But I understand. He wasn't really living up to his hype. I was a little upset with him, but I stuck it out, and it paid off in my favor.
All right, so I'm going to have a really big comeback this week to take that title. This will be my wife's 2nd title in a row in our family league, 3rd overall in 6 years. So she is trending towards a dynasty in our fantasy football league and our family league. So maybe she should be hosting and I should be listening. Lucas, yes, sir.
Yeah, so for the people at home, you can't see – well, you might be able to see this video now that we're going to be putting them on YouTube, but Joe is recording at his house, and she is recording in her car. I think things got a little heated. Are you allowed in the house until this is over, or what's going on here?
Well, I am allowed in the house. I am just actually at work right now, but I had to step out to do this because I've been wanting to be on as a guest, and y'all finally let me on. So. I mean, we do live in Titletown, so I have to live up to that.
Oh, there we go. We love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
Without further ado, why don't you give the listeners your Week 17 DraftKings lineup to win the competition, the Big Fish competition. Lacey, hit it.
Okay, yeah, I hope y'all are ready to lose because I've got a pretty good team here, I think. So for quarterback, I picked up Patty Mahomes. I'm sorry. And then running back, I stuck with Saquon Barkley since he did me no wrong last week. I had to stick with him. For my next running back, I did Melvin Gordon. Wide receiver, Cooper Kupp. Wide receiver, Amari Cooper, roll tide. Wide receiver, Randall Cobb. Tight end, Tyler Eifert. Flex, this was super random for me, but Jack Doyle. And then for the defense, I chose the Falcons.
The Atlanta Falcons.
Go. Sounds like a winner to me.
There you go.
I'm ready.
We will see how many points my wife puts up, and if I can make a comeback, it's not looking likely. I'm going to have to make some major moves to come back and win on that. So, Lacey, thank you for joining us.
Thank y'all for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. I hope if you win your league, you can retire from your job or something and just or if you win in DraftKings, you could make that a career.
There we go.
Lot of avenues for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for having me.
That's great.
Thanks for stopping by.
Come on
again.
We love it. Thank you for being here. We'll roll it right in. I was 4th place last week, and so I'm going to give my lineup for the week to try to get back into the winner's circle in our major contest. My quarterback, I'm playing the redheaded stepchild Carson Wentz. I'm playing Austin Eckler and Mr. Derrick Henry at my running back spots. Wide receiver, I'm kind of rolling the dice here. I'm playing J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. I'm playing Anthony Miller, and I'm playing Golden Tate.
Oh.
My tight end, I'm playing Noah Fant. And at flex, I'm counting on a big bounce back from Nick Chubb. And defensively, I'm playing the Philadelphia Eagles against the New York Giants. So we will see how I can do with that.
Bold lineup there.
Yeah. Well, Joah.
Going for broke.
Joe, you won, so you're going to go last this week.
Hell yeah.
I think my lineup is fairly bold as well, especially because I'm going to start out the gate going with my quarterback, Case Keenum, who is $4,500. He is dirt cheap. We're rolling him out there, baby. We love Case Keenum. My
Who's
two
his
running
backup
backs
this week? Is it Colt McCoy?
Yeah, probably
We might see
Colt
him,
45.
dude. We might see him.
Keenum's good, dude. My two running backs, I'm going with the big boys this week. I'm going with Zeke Elliott and Derrick Henry. Both have fantastic matchups.
All right.
My 3 receivers, I'm going with my man, Brashad Perryman. Other wide receiver, I'm going with Stevie Sims Jr., who's been a monster lately for Washington. And in my 3rd receiver, I'm going with Darius Slayton, the Eagle killer. My tight end, I'm going with Tyler Higbee, who's been a beast, playing the worst defense in the league. My running back, my flex, I'm going with running back Kerryon Johnson, who's playing the Green Bay Packers. And my defense, I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers, playing against his Ravens backups, need to win to get in. Joah.
That is very, very nice. You know, we're recording this early in the morning on Thursday, so I'm still getting a bit of the yawns out. But my lineup is not tired this week. This week, guys, I got my man Danny Dimes at quarterback for the New York Football Giants. At running back, I got Joe Mixon and Miles Sanders. At wide receiver, I got Allen Robinson II, Rashad Perriman, and Mike Williams. At tight end, I'm going with Noah Fant. And at flex, I'm going with Gus Edwards against the Steelers. And at the defense, I think that the Bears find a way to shut down Kirk. Can't win on Monday Night Football Cousins.
Or they might see the backup. We don't know.
I don't know.
Who's Kirk Cousins' backup? Who's his backup? Johnny Appleseed?
Sean Mannion, bro.
Oh, man.
Oh,
yeah,
Mannion.
Former Rams backup quarterback. Now Blake Bortles has that job. But this week, I'm feeling good. I think that my lineup can either put up like 200 points or like 70 because a lot of boomer bust type players this week for me. Seems like it's a theme this week with your guys' lineups. But I know that I'm going to beat at least some listeners this week. You know,
tell them where they can find us, Joe, and tell them what to do with themselves.
Guys, look on our Twitter page because then you can find a link to.
We're going to drop the link there, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to drop the link on Twitter, and you're going to be able to find your way into this huge competition that we're running. We're having a lot of fun. I think that a ton of people in the Brawl Network, some of the higher-ups maybe might even be playing this week, and I think that they're going to have a lot of fun playing with us, showing their fantasy football spirit, even though they might be covering some distinct teams. And also, you know, some of our friends, some of our family. Joe, your wife is in this week. And, you know, it's a big week, and we're all very excited because it's the last week of the season, and then we get playoffs. But don't expect the DraftKings to stop, right? We're carrying with it all the way through the playoffs, all the way through the Super Bowl. I mean, I might even drop some XFL DraftKings stuff because, yeah, you know what?
Don't scare off Lucas with that.
XFL is a real league. It's more real than the AAF at this point. And, you know, the AAF was sometimes fun to watch. And, I mean, you could play DraftKings for the AAF, so why can't you play DraftKings for the XFL? But I'm getting off topic, and I think that we're going to move on to some other stuff now. We're going to talk about some more fun things and get into some more great topics.
I just wanted everyone to know the name of the league, the DraftKings league that we're doing this week is called the Fantasy Brawl Big Fish in all capital letters. That's Big Fish. That's what.
And I know that Joe is itching to talk about this Jets and Bills game, the most exciting game from Week 17.
Ooh, I'm pumped for Week 17. I'm pumped for a lot of the stinker matchups of people who are already going to play and people who are not going to play. That's what makes Week 17 fantasy fun. People say, oh, you're crazy for playing a 2-week game. I would never count out Week 17. I think the wild card factor of Week 17 makes it even more fun because you got Joe said it right up. Jets and Bills. If you play Josh Allen most of the year, he's giving you a top 10 fantasy season from the quarterback position. Something that a lot of people may or may not have expected. I didn't. I kind of have always been down on Mr. Josh Allen, but with his rushing ability, and he's actually finding a little bit of accuracy and playing pretty well. He has turned in a top 10 quarterback season in fantasy football. So you got Josh Allen, and it's second week of your championship week. Are you going to play him? Because they've got nothing to play for. The Bills are locked into the 5th seed. They have nothing to play for. How long does Josh Allen play? Go ahead. Yeah, how long does he play?
I think he plays a half at most. I think that he doesn't trot out there for the second half. He might not even play. I mean,
depends on the coach philosophy. I mean,
we don't really know, but no one really knows, honestly, except for the coach. He's got it in his mind. I mean, Matt Barkley, the backup, you definitely don't play him in any capacity, and you don't play Sam Darnold either because that Bills defense is nasty. So even with their backups in, I still think that in Week 17, it's kind of sketchy to use Josh Allen because they're locked in. It's not like they have a chance to get the 2 seed, the 3 seed. They're locked into the 5 seed. So they know And the only thing they're playing for this week is a better record and, the fan base's pride that they went a certain so-and-so record. So I don't know. I don't think I'm going to play Josh Allen this week. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think I'm going to trust him because I don't think that he plays the entire game, if at all. So
No. And my big thing with these Week 17 games is normally, unless the coach says, we're playing, like Bill O'Brien said, we're playing our starters. He's told the Texans they're playing their starters. So they're playing versus the Titans. So you can trust, someone in that offense as opposed to, someone like this where there's not much clarification on who's playing. Normally, if that's the case, these starters aren't going to be playing the whole game for whatever it's worth if there's, nothing to play for them. And on the flip side, if you're a bad team and you're out of the playoffs, normally your starters are going to be full go.
And you're trying to spoil some
You're
teams.
trying to spoil a season and or just sneak another win in there, play for pride. So, anyone on that Jets offense, tough matchup this week, but that's not to say, bench Le'Veon Bell because who knows? He's a starting running. I'm just using this as an example. It could be any bad team, but, Robbie Anderson, Jamison Crowder. If you have them, you're probably not going to bench them they're going to play the whole game.
All we're saying is basically if your league is over and you're like looking for guys in DraftKings, picking up Josh Allen DraftKings or picking up a Buffalo wide receiver or Devin Singletary or Frank Gore. I don't know if he's playing anymore, honestly. I don't know if it's going to be the best idea. Bro. He's still going. He's still chugging.
Frank Gore, 3 yards at a time to the Hall of Fame.
he's definitely good there. I love Frank Gore. I would not trust him this week.
Yeah, I'm not trusting anyone on that Bills offense.
And I don't know if I trust anybody in the Jets offense either.
Just because they're going to be playing, but that's a tough matchup. So it just depends what other options are out there.
Well,
Speaking of tough matchups, man.
The next one, I just want to make this point. A lot of coaches will say their guys are playing, just like Sean McDermott did say his guys will play, but he also hinted that, Matt Barkley will play as well. A lot of coaches will like to take their teams through the game week prep, and then they throw them out there for a series, and then they pull them. Like, you just don't know with these guys. You remember, like, what was it, 8 years ago? Aaron Rodgers played the first half and put up like 30, and then they put in Matt Flynn, and he put up another 30 or 40. Like, you never know what these guys are going to do.
Week 17 is so weird, dude.
I think that's why it's so fun.
So strange.
So pay close attention prior to kickoff. That's the main point.
Yeah, make sure you're monitoring Schefter, Rappaport, anybody who tweets out the news. Make sure you're on that, and make sure you're on the injuries too, because even a minor – yeah, obviously us, but make sure you're monitoring the injuries too, because even a minor injury could keep a player out of week 17. Maybe like Zach Ertz doesn't have a bruised rib. He has broken
they need
ribs.
to win. They need to win, so he's playing, dude.
No, but
game like that.
Someone like if you have a bruised rib or, if you're in a lineup like that, that might be keeping you out of week 17.
Yeah,
and if you have nothing to play for, exactly. There's not a lot. But I know that there's a tough matchup coming up next. Joe, what's up?
Oh, well, yeah. The next game we wanted to roll into was going to be the Dolphins and the Patriots. Obviously, a little David and Goliath action going on there. But a good matchup in this game is going to be Devontae Parker against Stephon Gilmore. If you've been playing Devontae Parker in your leagues lately, you have been really enjoying fun. Yeah, enjoying the payoff there. Whether the Dolphins are good or bad, we don't care. It's just the production from Devontae Parker, and he's been giving it to you. So in his final week, after securing a new contract, how do you feel he's going to play against probably the best cornerback in the league? In my opinion, Gilmore is number one, head and shoulders above everyone. I believe I heard a stat that recently, I don't remember exactly what the quarterback rating was for an incomplete pass. I think it was 36 and change or so. But if you're targeting Stephon Gilmore, it's far less than an incomplete pass because he's had that good of a season. Joel, what do you think about Devontae Parker in this matchup?
The Patriots are weird with their cornerbacks. Sometimes they like to focus on one guy who's going to be that big weapon, and other times they just let it happen. They just let whatever the heck happen. I don't think there's any shot that the Patriots lose this week unless they absolutely sit everybody and Ryan Fitzpatrick throws another miracle game where he throws another 5 touchdown passes.
They're not losing.
There's no way. But Stephon Gilmore, man, that guy's awesome. I love watching him play. He's one of my favorite players to watch at the cornerback position because unlike certain guys in LA named Jalen Ramsey, He plays hard every single play, and he doesn't get lost in the shuffle. He covers his zones. He covers his man. He covers anything they ask him to do, and he's so fun to watch. And I don't say that a lot because I'm not a defensive guy. I love watching quarterbacks. I love watching the offense roll. But he's one of those guys that just makes me love football, makes me love watching the defense play. But I don't know how much you can trust Devontae Parker this week, especially in Week 17. The Patriots still have a shot to get a better seed. So it's Bill Belichick is definitely having something schemed up for Devontae Parker. He has it every time for the best player on the team.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm gonna disagree with you. Since week 11, Devontae Parker's had only 1 week under 15 points, which is pretty insane. 1 week under 15 points, and that was the week he got hurt, so he didn't even play the full game. I think he played a half. And in that week 11 matchup, he played the Buffalo Bills, which meant he played Tre'Davious White. He finished with 10 targets, 7 receptions for 135. He's by far their best player. They're going to get him the ball. They need to figure out ways to get him the ball. He will see double-digit targets almost every game, and they're going to move him around the offense. So I think his ceiling isn't as high. Maybe he won't get 20 points. I still think you can expect it around 10 from him at least. He's basically their whole offense.
I love the fact that they signed him to a huge extension. Yeah. I think that was a great move by the Dolphins GM because he's very good, and I'm going to love watching him in Miami with a new quarterback probably for years to come.
That's right.
Yeah, we'll roll right into the next matchup. Bears against the Vikings at 12 o'clock on Sunday. Both teams with little to play for, little to gain. The Vikings are locked into that 5 seed.
Can they move?
No.
They can move down. They can move down. They can move down to the 6th seed.
I stand corrected. I appreciate the corrections. I love more information. So they're going to need to win. The main real fantasy implications is going to be Dalvin Cook and Alexander Madison. And per most recent reports, they did not practice on Wednesday, and they're looking questionable. So it's going to be another week where you're going to be missing one of your top running backs in your fantasy lineups. So, what are you going to do with the Vikings offense? Are you going to play – obviously you're playing Stephon Diggs. What are you going to do? Are you going to play Mike Boone or Amir Abdullah? And then obviously we'll flip it to the Bears side. There's not much fantasy relevance there, but Allen Robinson, he's been pretty good all year long despite erratic quarterback play. The Vikings –
Erratic is nice. Erratic is a nice word there.
I like good vocabulary.
That's too nice.
My father was an English teacher. Oh, I thought you were complimenting the vocab. Sorry.
Oh well, yeah, that too. It was like too nice, but at the same time, it made a little bit of sense. I don't know. Erratic is too nice of a word to describe Mitchell Trubisky.
How about extremely erratic?
There we go. That's
Okay.
better.
Use an adverb in front of that. And then Anthony Miller, he's actually been pretty decent over the last couple of weeks. Is he going to be worth a dice roll in a situation where, say, you're not playing one of your star guys who are not going like a John Brown for the Bills? You're not playing John Brown for the Bills. We've already talked about maybe they're not going to play a whole game. Are you going to take a chance on an Anthony Miller? I'll let our experts cut up those 3 topics. What do you got, Joe?
All right, guys. This week, the Vikings. It's very hard to see what they're going to do because I don't know. They're not locked into the playoff spot, right? The Rams can still make it, or have they been eliminated?
They've been eliminated, but they're playing for seeding, like you said.
They are playing for seeding. Okay, so they can move down to the.
What is their record? They're 10-6. Does Seattle have 11 wins?
Seattle, I think
they're locked into the 6th seed. I'm pulling it up.
Yeah, they're locked into. I don't know.
Because Seattle beat them head to head, right?
Yeah, and I think that the Seahawks have 11 wins right now.
Yeah, so they're. I'm going to say they're probably going to lose to the 49ers. I think they will.
If the Seahawks beat the 49ers, though, the Packers get the 1 seed, and the Saints, and if the Packers win, which they're playing Detroit, so it looks like they're probably going to win. But
I think the Vikings are locked in at 6.
If they are, then
They are.
Okay, so if the Vikings are locked in at 6, I don't think I trust anybody on that offense. Maybe Stephon Diggs, maybe Adam Thielen. But that running back position is kind of hard. Mike Boone, Dalvin Cook, I don't think he should play. And if they do play him, I think that's a mistake. But if you're really desperate, this Bears defense has been weird, inconsistent against the run. sometimes when teams running straight up the gut, they can get a ton of yards against the Bears, touchdowns. Not the same run defense as last year, but Akeem Hicks is back, and he's very, very good and very, very talented. So I don't know if you trust any Vikings players this week, but on the Bears side, I'm always trusting my man, Allen Robinson. He's in my DraftKings this week. I love that dude. Shame that he's not in the Pro Bowl. Shame to voters out there that we didn't get him into the Pro Bowl because he truly was the only player on the Bears besides Khalil Mack and Eddie Jackson and Cordero Patterson that deserved it, and he wasn't even named an alternate, which makes me very sad because he's dealt with bad quarterback play his entire career. He really deserves better. And Anthony Miller, he's a tough because he can also be inconsistent. He hasn't been 100% healthy this year, and he also has been a little lazy is a word that we talk about before the show and after the show sometimes about the Bears. And when we talk about Anthony Miller, we describe him as a little lazy, but we like his upside. I don't know if you can trust him this week. That Viking secondary is pretty good. Anthony Harris has 6 interceptions. He picked off Aaron Rodgers last week. So if he plays and Harrison Smith, they play, that Viking secondary is nasty. If he's against roads closed, seems like those roads are open this year. But I don't know, guys. Anthony Miller and Allen Robinson are only 2 players on the Bears who I would ever trust.
Yeah, So I was looking at the game lines this week, and it started out as like a 7-point Vikings line. I mean, it's down to 1 point now. I think that came out after the Packers game, so it sure seems like Vegas knows something. I don't think the Vikings are going to be playing a lot of their guys. Probably the only guy I trust on that Vikings offense is going to be Mike Boone, just because their offensive line is very good, and I highly doubt they'll play Cook or Madison. They're going to save them for the playoffs. So I really like – well, I don't really like, but I like Mike Boone this week. If you did have him in fantasy, I think you should start him. I don't think he did too well last week. He didn't do much at all.
He got pulled at halftime.
He's worth a play if you have him. On the Bears side, I love the wide receivers. I think the Vikings secondary has been a big disappointment this year, at least in fantasy. I think they're giving up the 5th most points to wide receivers in fantasy, which is pretty insane for how good of a defense they are. But Allen Robinson, Anthony Miller, I like them both, especially if Gabriel's out again.
Well, Mitchell Trubisky really cannot hit the deep ball.
If they're playing backups, I would like Mitch to have a good game. If they're playing backups.
Really? You think that? I don't know, man.
Versus backups, dude. It's versus bad defenses, bad teams. He plays well. It's weird. If they play backups, I will give him the benefit of the doubt.
But he can't hit the open. Bears receivers were getting open all game against the Chiefs. All game they were open. Every single play, there was 2 open receivers.
Okay, the Chiefs, they were playing starters. I'm telling you, if they're playing backups, he might have a good game. That's all I'm saying. If they're playing backups, it's a big if.
He was throwing into triple coverage when he had 2 guys streaking down the sideline.
Okay.
There's no way. No way.
Okay, well, please explain to me what he does to the Lions every week. If he played the Lions 16 weeks a year, he'd be the greatest quarterback to ever live. Bad defenses, he thrives. That's it, period. You can't deny that. Bad defenses, he thrives. And if they're playing backups, they will surely be a lot worse than their starters.
Predict his fantasy score this week.
I can't because I don't know if they're playing starters.
Okay, if they are playing starters, all right, we're going to judge this as they're not playing starters. We're going to say they're not playing starters, and we're going to do a cookie and a dunce cap because we haven't done one of those in a while.
Well, how do we judge that? If they're going to be playing, they might play half the starters, certain guys. It depends. It really depends.
All right, whatever. What's your fantasy prediction this week for Mitchell Trubisky, the quarterback of Chicago Bears? Quarterback is
70 points.
70 points?
No.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to give him 17.
17? I think he gets under 15. So,
well, you set the line there, so it's over under 15.
Yep.
I'm going over 15.
He's not good, so.
I'm going over 15.
All right.
Give us this next game. Let's
talk about a good quarterback here. Let's talk about a superstar quarterback. The Chargers are going to play the Chiefs, and big debate on how long people are going to play, but the Chiefs still have something to play for. They are slotted at the 3 seed at the moment. They can move up into the 2 seed if the Patriots lose. They can move down into the 4 seed if they lose and the Texans win. So they're going to be playing their players and trying to maintain that 3 seed and take the chance that they can move into the 2 seed. Do we love playing Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Damian Williams? Obviously, you're going to have to check and see if LaShawn McCoy will be active. How do we feel about the Chiefs' offense? Lucas, you start this one.
I'm going to say I don't trust them. And the fact of this is I think they're going to be scoreboard watching. If New England is, just beating the Dolphins up really bad in that noon slate, I think that they might pull Mahomes a little bit early, especially because I think Matt Moore is capable enough to win them this game if he has to come in. I think we might see the assortment of receivers and running backs, though, but I think they're going to try and just get up early and maybe pull Mahomes. I don't know. I don't trust him to play this full game.
I don't trust him to play the full game either, but I think you can still trust him. I think that it's still enough of a – I think the games are at the same time. I think you can still trust him to put up a ton of points, and if they get up early, if they get up a lot early, I don't think you see him again.
This is a divisional game. They actually might not blow the Chargers out. So you know what? If the Texans can move into that 3 seed,
they're at home though.
They're not going to risk losing that 3 seed though. That's what I think actually.
Right.
So we actually might see Mahomes the full game now that I think about it, Joah.
Yeah, I don't know if he plays a full game because that Patriots game and that Texans game. Okay, that Texans game. What time is it?
A Chiefs loss and the Texans win. The Texans are in the afternoon, I believe. Yeah, the Texans are playing in the afternoon.
No, they're gonna. I think he's gonna play now. I changed my mind. Start Mahomes. They're not.
Yeah,
they're not gonna pull him.
I'm never gonna tell you to not start Mahomes, even if he's only playing a half, because I think that we've seen that he can throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in a half before. So I don't know. I'm gonna go with him regardless if he plays the full game or not.
Start the Chiefs.
Yep. But on the Chargers side, I don't know, guys. Austin Eckler, he's been weird. He's been super good and then inconsistent other times, and I don't know. Melvin Gordon, it's just so weird. That Chargers offense can put up 45 in a week and then the next week put up 10.
Chiefs run D, very porous. I like the running backs this week versus them.
I agree. Austin Eckler with another 12-point week. He's been super consistent for that late round value that you drafted him and basically taking a flyer on the Melvin Gordon weeks where he's sitting out. So I'm definitely playing the Chargers running backs. I don't know about Phillip Rivers, but I'm playing the running backs.
Ew. No.
What's our next game we got on here?
Yeah, next game we got Browns and Bengals. We're going to talk about 2 running backs who struggled last week.
The Battle of Ohio.
Yeah, Joe Mixon and Nick Chubb have both been pretty good running backs in the second half of the season. Nick Chubb really the whole year, but last week, Week 16 championship
both
week,
had duds.
Yeah, they had big duds, and Mixon scored 9 and change, and Chubb scored 4 and change. So pick these guys head to head. Who's going to have a better week, and do you trust them to play better?
I don't know. I think that the Browns and the Bengals both have nothing to play for. So I do think that we're going to see the starters the entire game. That's not really a question in this case, but I'm gonna surprise myself here. I'm gonna go with Joe Mixon. I think that this Browns defense has been not very strong since Myles Garrett was unrightfully suspended for the entire season and indefinitely. And so I think that I'm gonna go with Joe Mixon. I think he catches passes out of the backfield better than Nick Chubb does, and I think that he's more versatile. And he doesn't have a guy like Kareem Hunt who's going to take some of his touches. I mean, Nick Chubb's still been very fantasy viable with the addition of Kareem Hunt to the offense. But I do think that Joe Mixon has more of a higher ceiling this week, in my opinion.
Joe, what do you got?
Well, I just want to throw this one stat. Nick Chubb has a 90-yard lead in rushing on the whole season. So he's 90 yards ahead of Christian McCaffrey, and I will just throw that little detail in there to say I'm sure that he's going to be wanting to maintain his lead to claim the rushing title for the year. Lucas, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Joe. I don't know why my gut's just telling me that Joe Mixon will have a bigger game. I mean, you're absolutely right. They might just feed him, but 90-yard lead, that's fairly sizable. I mean, he doesn't need too many more to probably secure that.
Unless Christian McCaffrey –
unless he has a Saquon-like week. But
yeah, right.
I think even though it's McCaffrey, I think the chances of that, even if he finishes with 80 or 90 yards
McCaffrey already reached 2,000 scrimmage yards.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with Mixon. And I just think that, like we said earlier, there's no competition there. He's going to get the bulk of the carries, probably catch more passes. And, it's really going to come down to probably which one of those two scores more touchdowns, and I'm just going to assume Mixon breaks a big run.
I think that Mixon is going to catch a screen pass for a touchdown.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He has more opportunity to take it in, so I'm going to go with Mixon. But good. This is a great matchup.
Like a pass catching back, and Kareem Hunt is such a well-rounded back that they can really use him to do anything, and he's got a lot of he's a huge tool for that Browns offense. And Nick Chubb is more of just a ground and pound. So I mean, I think that Joe Mixon is going to be a higher ceiling this week, but I do think that Nick Chubb has a higher floor. So if Joe Mixon has a bad week, then Nick Chubb will have a better week.
Yeah,
so,
and we just did mention Christian McCaffrey. Joe, what can you tell us about this NFC South matchup here?
Next game is going to be the Panthers and the Saints, and obviously Christian McCaffrey there's really nothing to play for either squad. They're going to be playing Will Greer.
No, the Saints can get the 1 seed.
12-3. Yes, you're absolutely. If the Packers lose and the Saints win, the Saints
and the 49ers lose.
So they're going to need a couple of things there. So they'll be playing everybody, I'm sure, going all out, which is a good sign for people who have Michael Thomas and Drew Brees. And
is this an afternoon game, like a late afternoon?
No, we're not into the afternoon window quite yet.
Okay.
I don't know if they play everybody for the entire game.
I think they will. Sean Payton is that kind of guy, honestly.
I think that Michael Thomas hits that 150 reception mark, and I'm very happy about that because that guy is fun to watch.
Yeah.
150
Good guy
passes is insane. Did you guys see the clip of him that was trending around Twitter in his post-game interview? He sounds nothing like I imagined he'd sound like. He's got like a high-pitched voice and he's doesn't sound like Michael Thomas I thought would sound. I thought Michael Thomas would come in 150. I'm very excited. I could be chasing this. I just got the record. Now that man came in like me, sounded like me with a high-pitched voice. And
I'm Michael Thomas.
I'm like, Michael, what?
But good guy. Did you guys see the video of him giving the kid the toy at Christmas?
Yeah, that's the clip I saw on Twitter.
Yeah. I mean, I saw that too, but I'm very excited. I think that he, regardless of who's throwing him the football this week, Teddy B or Drew Brees, honestly, I think that we see either one. I think we see both, if not Teddy B more. So regardless of who's throwing the football, I think he hits 150 and just continues this all-time great season. There's a stat that receptions through 5 seasons, and Michael Thomas has something like 430 something through his 4th season, and he's not even done with the season 1, and he's second among players through 5 seasons, all with receptions, and it's just absolutely bonkers. He's so talented, and the fact that more people aren't considering this guy one of the probably the best receiver in the NFL. I know he's playing with Drew Brees and has a great system in New Orleans, but you can't ignore him catching 150 balls almost this season.
He's open all the time.
He's so good.
Yeah,
and he's probably one of the best I've ever seen at beating zone coverage. I don't know, man. That dude just finds absolutely empty space and just catches the football.
Well, if I have one of the Saints players, I'm playing them. I think they're playing. But on the flip side of that, I know DJ Moore has not been healthy. What's going on?
Still in the concussion protocol and is looking like he's going to miss the game. He left the game this past week with the big hit, and he's looking like he's going to miss this coming.
So is this a Curtis Samuel week?
No, because Will Greer is the quarterback.
But it doesn't matter. He's the number 1.
It doesn't matter.
Somebody's got to get the targets.
Will Greer is so bad.
Yeah, so it's a McCaffrey week. We'll roll with that.
McCaffrey is 67 yards away from getting 1,000 yards receiving, and he's already cleared 1,000 yards rushing.
I think he gets 1,000 yards receiving.
Yeah.
That dude's insane.
All
I think he got a ton of yards receiving with Will Greer at the helm last week, so I think that he keeps it up.
So no Curtis Samuel, but we like Christian McCaffrey. Although I kind of like Curtis Samuel. We'll see.
I kind of do as well because somebody's got to get the targets.
Yeah.
Falcons and Bucks moving on and staying in the NFC South. We people who played Jameis Winston last week in their fantasy title game were probably a little bit underwhelmed with his massive turnover output. Yes, he threw a lot of yards, but he did turn the ball over a lot, costing a lot of fantasy points. Brashard Perriman continued his good streak without
Always.
Chris Godwin and without Mike Evans. And lastly, Julio Jones went for like 26 points in PPR. So how do we feel about – oh, and speaking of, right on time, my Roto World gave me Julio Jones limited at practice on Thursday. So take it away, Lucas. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, as we spoke about last week, Julio Jones has been questionable since he was at Alabama. I mean, he's always on the injury list. He's going to play, I think. I don't think they're really going to sit him out, especially if he's, practicing in limited fashion, which he's been doing. But the thing about Jameis that drove me nuts last week wasn't even the turnovers because I expected those. It was the overthrown end zone balls. I mean, he could have had 2 or 3 extra touchdowns. And one of those was to Perryman for like a nice 30 or 40-yard shot, I think. Just imagine if he had caught that other touchdown. Jameis is one of those guys. I like him in fantasy. He puts up points. The Falcons' defense, while has been playing better, isn't very good. I love Perryman, though, this week. I love him throughout, this year. So if you have him or Julio, start them both.
I mean, this is going to – in my opinion, this is probably going to be a really high-scoring game unless the Bucs pass rush and run defense. I mean, Devontae Freeman, let's not ignore the fact that he had a really nice week last week. So – I think that I think it's going to be high scoring. And I think that both these offenses are going to put up huge numbers. We're not going to ignore the fact that Jameis Winston might throw 3 interceptions again. I hope that he doesn't because hitting 30 interceptions.
Impossible.
Hitting 30 interceptions is kind of a low, wouldn't you say? Wouldn't you say that's a low? I think that
he slings the rock. I mean, I don't know. It's just he's a weird guy. I mean, the stats are so gaudy, but the interceptions are too. It's bad.
I mean, I'm just trying to look at.
I'd roll the dice on him if I had him. I'd roll him out there.
He has 28 interceptions this year. Does he hit 30?
Yes, I'm gonna say yes.
That would be so. Oh my God, Jameis, stop it! He's gonna throw for 5,000 yards and 30 interceptions. It's like he's playing Madden out here, dude. That's my Madden character, dude. When I play on when I'm feeling confident and I'm like, oh yeah, my career mode, I can play on all pro. And I'm not very good at the game, so I'm like, oh yeah, I can play on all pro. I'm chucking deep balls and sometimes I catch it because the algorithm stinks, and then other times I'm just getting intercepted like crazy, throwing for 30 picks, and who knows, guys. Julio, Perriman, Jameis, Matt Ryan, can't believe I'm saying it. Huge games this week, in my opinion.
Yeah, let's play them all there. Fire up everybody in that matchup. We're going to Colts and Jaguars, and really the only thing that I've got on this game is whether DJ Chark is going to bounce back from it. 2 weeks ago he didn't play. Last week it was only a little under 4. What do we think about DJ Chark?
Go ahead, Joah. What do you think?
I think this is fine. I think
you think he's still hurt? I think he's hurt. I think
he's hurt. I don't think he should. One, I don't think he should play. I think he should not play this week because you don't want to risk further injuring it and keeping him out for the most of the offseason so he can't train and get better. And so I'm gonna say I don't think he should play, but if he does play, I think 8 or 9 points is probably what you'll see him around this week because he does have that connection with Gardner Minshew, and we talked about this since the beginning of the season when Nick Foles went out and Gardner Minshew started slinging the rock pretty much exclusively to DJ Chark. But I don't know. It's gotten to the point where he doesn't look 100% healthy, and I don't know if you can trust him all the way this week.
Yeah, this is the Colts team who he torched them earlier this year. This is very tough for me. Reports said he didn't look like he was in pain too much when he was doing his cuts and stuff, but obviously something was wrong last week. I'm going to say trust him this week. I'm going to say go for it, trust him, throw him out there, and see what happens. I don't know, Joe. What do you think?
Oh, man, I'm scared of him, honestly. I'm scared of having another big dud. I've got to basically have a big week. I'm not playing just for fun this week. I'm probably going to lean towards my other receivers this week. I'm just nervous with soft tissue injuries. It's a hamstring injury, correct?
Yeah.
I'm just nervous.
No, ankle injury.
Okay. Well, still, he makes me nervous. That's what I'll say, and I probably will lean towards other receivers.
I think in championship week, the championship week, it's always best to go with the safer play. I know people are tempted to, unless you're down. I know you're down 40. So, I mean, yeah, you got to go for some risky plays in that game this week. But if you're up and you still are, like, at the point where you need to, just maintain your lead, and I think that it's best to go with the safer plays. And I'm not sure DJ Chark is a safe play this week. I think that's a little risky, in my opinion.
Yeah. What do we got in this NFC East showdown here, Joe?
The Eagles-Giants game you're talking about?
That's right.
Because there's two. There's the Washington Redskins.
Yeah.
And
Well, the Eagles need this for the playoffs. So
yeah, if they win, they're in. So, I mean, I don't know. I think they have a lot to play for, but I'm gonna go with the Giants this week. I think the Giants win, and I think that Saquon and Danny Dimes both have huge weeks. Darius Slayton's an Eagle killer, so I think that he will have a ton of yards too. I don't know. I think that Daniel Jones.
Well, Joe, you told me you were, you're obviously playing Week 17 championship. If you had Zach Ertz, would you play him this week? I mean, he's gonna play, but are you trusting him with broken ribs?
No, I'm not. I would definitely look for other tight end options because you can't afford
Dallas
him.
Goedert.
Dallas Goedert will look good because if Zach Ertz goes down early or misses snaps, Goddard really played well. And I'm just looking elsewhere because I'm trying to play the safest, most consistent lineup I can this week, especially being such a weird week.
Yeah.
But the two running backs, I'm intrigued by those. I saw a stat this week that Miles Sanders was top 5 in scrimmage yards this year, which I think is insane. He doesn't get any love. He's been tearing it up without Jordan Howard there, and this Giants run defense is not good.
The Giants defense to begin with is not good.
I love Miles Sanders this week. Honestly, he's kind of pricey on DraftKings. I don't know if I'd spring for him there.
That's the only Eagles player I trust this week.
Yeah,
the only Eagles.
If you have Saquon like Lacey has, would you trust him versus Eagles run D, which was really good at the beginning of the year, and they kind of tapered off a little bit. But this Eagles team they do this every year where they fight at the end. They find a way to make the playoffs.
And
I think
win.
That defense might be tight, man. I don't know. Are you trusting Saquon?
Yeah, you drafted him number 1, so you're definitely going to play him.
Right. But do you trust him? You're going to play him, but do you trust him? That's
a different question.
Yes or no?
Well, yeah, he's put up basically 70 points in the last 2 weeks. I think he's definitely – he'll get you 20. He'll get you 15.
Oh, see, I think I'm going under 20.
I'm going above 20. I think that this Giants offense is a huge week, and I think that Daniel Jones and Saquon continue their tears and spoil the Eagles' playoff run because I'm pretty sure that the Dallas Cowboys will beat the Washington Redskins this week.
Yeah.
We'll go to the Cardinals and Rams, and big-time running back out of the Cardinals, and it's not David Johnson. Yeah, he has disappeared and gone ghost mode this year. What do you think about Kenyon Drake? Will he continue his hot streak? He's been really good since he's found his way to Arizona. Joe, what do you think? Will Kenyon Drake have a big week in Week 17?
See, while David Johnson has gone ghost mode, Kenyon Drake over the past couple weeks has gone sicko mode. That dude is on fire. He's not stopping. And I don't think that I'm not going to trust him until he has a bad week. I think I'm going to trust him until he does something that disappoints me. And so far, he's been very good, very consistent, and I like what I'm seeing in Arizona, and I think that he continues this week. I think that the Rams, nothing to play for. They're out. They lost. Tough loss. But, man, I'm gonna go with Kenyon Drake still having a nice week. And the thing is also Kyler's hurt. So, like, it might be Brett Hundley. We might see Brett Hundley. So, who knows, man? If it's Kyler or Brett Hundley, I'm still going with Kenyon Drake. I think that he's been that good in Arizona, and I don't think that I have any reason to distrust him until he's proven me otherwise.
Yeah. I mean, if I had him, I would start him. Although I don't know if I love the matchup this week. The Rams do have a guy named Aaron Donald, and if Kyler Murray's not playing and Brent Hundley has to play, they're gonna stack that box, and they're gonna make it very tough to run. So I don't know if I love
but that's where Kenyon Drake's hands come in because he has some nice hands.
Dude, I don't know. And then the way they use their backfield is weird. So who knows? David Johnson might just be the guy this week. I would say if you have
is back too.
Yeah, if you have Kenyon Drake, I would start him, but I don't love the matchup.
Well, he's in my DraftKings this week, so I am very, very
Hopeful.
interested to see that he does well this week. And, another guy that hasn't started a game since 2016, RG3 for the Baltimore Ravens is gonna start this week, right? He's gonna play.
Yep.
Lamar Jackson is not gonna play. We're gonna see Trace McSorley a little bit, undrafted out of Penn State, or was he 7th-round pick? Who knows? It doesn't matter. But RG3, I think Lucas, weren't you considering putting him in your DraftKings this week?
Yeah, I thought of it. He's like around 5,000, so he's not as cheap as you would think. I mean, he's pretty cheap, but for a backup QB, I'm expecting something cheaper. I mean, again, like Lamar, he provides that running ability. I'm curious to see how much he will run this full game, just because he's had those injuries. But I mean, when he came in the other night, we saw him scrambling around a little bit. And something that Joe Schiller had told us about RG3 was the big difference between him and Lamar. Is that, in the way they run is just the fact that RG3 takes unnecessary hits and Lamar doesn't. That being said, I think he'll run the ball, but I think the Steelers D is going to come to play. They can get in the playoffs.
They have to win this week.
Yeah, so they're going to, no holds barred for them. I think they're going to get, that Steelers D is going to be going
This is going to be a low-scoring game. But I think that because of RG3's running ability, I do think that makes him fantasy viable. But that's the only reason he's fantasy viable for me, because this Steelers defense is very good and very solid.
Yeah.
And I don't trust anybody on the Steelers. So
yeah.
And Juju
has disappeared.
Juju's gone away with the poor quarterback play.
It's
I kind of like James Washington recently.
James Washington and Deontay Johnson have just been deep ball machines with Duck Hodges playing, and it looks like Duck Hodges is going to start with Paxton Lynch as the backup. And Duck Hodges has played awful in the past couple of weeks. So, I mean, that's what you're expecting from a third string undrafted rookie. But Paxton Lynch is his backup. It's going to be pretty embarrassing if you lose that job to Paxton Lynch, former first-round pick who absolutely has done nothing with his career. So I think that Duck Hodges, if he's going to target anybody this week, it's going to be James Washington and Deontay Johnson. But I don't trust anybody on that Steelers offense. Steelers defense only for me.
We're moving into with the Titans and Texans, a big divisional matchup to try to get the Titans into the playoffs. Derrick Henry didn't play for Fantasy Owners Championship weeks last week. Do you expect him to bounce back? Obviously, I think they're probably saving him up for this week. What do you think about Derrick Henry's week this week, Lucas?
Yeah, I love this matchup. I mean, I threw him in my DraftKings. I think he's going to have one of his typical huge weeks, at least 20 points for Henry. I think they're going to feed this man versus Texans D.
Yeah, I mean, Derrick Henry's just a tank at this point. If they have to win, and they're playing for a ton, and the Texans also have to win to try and get some better seeding. So this is going to be a very interesting game. I'm very, very excited to see it because I love when these AFC South divisional rivals clash when the season's on the line. It's always a fun game to watch. And I think that Ryan Tannehill can help Derrick Henry continue his amazing run. I don't think we see Derrick Henry catch any balls out the backfield, but man,
he's been catching a little bit this year, man.
I know, but I still think that Derrick Henry can have an over 100-yard game, give him 2 touchdowns on the goal line. That dude is just gonna carry this Titans offense with Ryan Tannehill this week. I think it's going to be a good week for them. I don't know if they win, though, honestly.
Well, we've got divisional matchups the rest of the way. Raiders and Broncos, and Raiders have to win and get a lot of help to get into the playoffs, which makes me think that Josh Jacobs is going to gut it out with his shoulder injury. Do you trust Josh Jacobs for your last week of fantasy football, Joah?
No, dude. That man, every time he gets hit, it looks like he's in a ton of pain. So
he's looking like the Jordan Howard injury last year, where every time he got popped, he just nursed it a little bit and then went right back into the game.
Yeah, I don't know.
And it's a tough matchup too. The Broncos' run D is really good.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to say because this Raiders team has to win and has to have other things happen for them. I think the Colts have to win, the Titans have to lose, and the who else has to lose? The Steelers have to lose. So that's a lot that they need to happen. And I don't know if it all happens. And if Josh Jacobs, he has to play, and he has to play well. but I don't see it. I just
Yeah.
think I just don't think he's healthy enough.
Yeah, to be
But
honest with you, I don't trust him either. I mean, DeAndre Washington has played well in his place as well, so that shouldn't really, the Raiders shouldn't be scared about not having Jacobs if their backup is playing well. I think he'll play, but I think he'll definitely be limited. And again, the matchup just scares me, so I don't trust him this week.
Nope.
We'll go back to the NFC East. The Redskins are playing the Cowboys, and if the Cowboys win and the Eagles lose, the Cowboys will be in, so they're going to go all out. Dak looks hurt. Dak looks dinged up. Do we expect him to have a big game, bounce back, gut it out? Lucas.
I'm going to say no. I don't think he has a huge game. I really think this is a Zeke game, and this is a game. Zeke hasn't really taken over a game and completely won it for the Cowboys this year. I don't think, and I think this will be the week he does it. On the flip side, before we go to Joey here, I have one guy that if you're a fantasy owner or a fantasy player, you should consider this guy, picking him up in your championship week. On the Redskins, Stevie Sims Jr. has been a monster lately. I think he had 25 points last week, and he's seen a ton of targets. He's him and McLaurin are both seeing, a huge share of that passing O. And
Case Keenum throws a nice deep ball too.
Yeah,
so.
I expect them to be down by a lot, and I don't know. I like Stevie Sims. If you guys need a waiver wire gem for Week 17, I'd give him a shot. Joe, what do you think about Zeke, and what do you think about the Redskins,
Zeke troubles me because I could see him having a huge week, but I could also see him just dudding out and the Cowboys just absolutely being awful this week. So
but they are at home. They are at home. They do play.
They are at home. They're in Jerry World, so
they love it there.
They do love it there. They could make the playoffs with an 8-8 record, which is crazy to say. We've seen it before, and I do think that the Eagles lose. So I do think that the Cowboys are going to have they know what's going to happen. They know that if the Eagles win, they're out. So depending on the result of that game, we could see an entirely different approach from the Cowboys. I don't know. I think that if the Eagles win, we see a tired, sad Cowboys team. But if the Eagles lose, man, we're going to see a fired-up Cowboys team, and they might put a 35-40 burger on the Redskins.
That's a good point.
And the last game of the weekend will be awesome to watch. The 49ers and the Seahawks are playing for the NFC West Division. And we would be remiss if we didn't talk about Mr. Beast Mode. We'll be back in the NFL this week playing for the Seahawks, carrying that rock. Do we think he's in shape? Are we going to throw him in our fantasy lineups? Or what do we think for the Seahawks? Russell Wilson has been kind of underwhelming the last handful of weeks, a lot of weeks. Tyler Lockett has been disappointing. So can they put the ball in Beast Mode's hands and let him carry the load for the division title?
I don't know how in shape.
Use your head, not your heart.
I don't know how in shape Marshawn Lynch is. He has not played at all this year. He retired a couple times. So this to me feels a lot like Brett Favre trying to come back. He was fine when he did, but I think that they're so desperate in Seattle for anyone who can run the football.
Yeah.
Procise out.
Penny out.
Carson out. Man,
yikes.
This feels like a throwback to the 2014 Seahawks team. And they just add more drama to the locker room. Like Josh Gordon, gone, unfortunately. Rest in peace, man. Love you. Stay off the weed, please. Or in the PDs. Just stop doing it. You're so talented. We just want to see you play. But man, this is tough. I don't see it, man.
No, he's not even on DraftKings yet.
No, he isn't on DraftKings yet.
No.
So, man, I don't know about you, Lucas. This feels like a shot in the dark from the Seahawks. This feels like, honestly, they might have been able to call Sean Alexander and been like, "Hey, Sean, come back," and he might get them the same result this week. I don't think it's going to be a huge week for Marshawn.
I'm saying he'll get. Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's
at most 50 yards.
This has to be a big Russell Wilson week. I mean, this guy he has to ball out for them to win.
And if they win the division. So they're playing for a ton.
Dude, I think it's crazy how the Seahawks have gotten this far with just – I don't know. I've said it before. I don't think they're that great of a team. I think Russell Wilson has carried them. Even though he hasn't played that great recently, they find ways to win games. It's kind of bizarre, but I think this has to be a signature Russ performance if they want to win.
This has to be a great Pete Carroll game plan.
But we know – this is the thing. We know the 49ers are going to score points, so I really like Russell Wilson in this matchup just because they're going to have to throw a lot and – and he's going to have to step up.
The run defense has to play well in order for them to stay in the game. I don't think that
the 49ers are going to be scoring points, so Russ he has to have a signature game. He's going to have to run to get it done, do whatever he has to.
If they force Jimmy G to play at a high level and Russ can deliver, I think it's going to be a close game. But if they just allow the 49ers to run all over them,
well, we know what happened in that Monday night game, man. That was crazy.
That was crazy, but they don't have Chris Carson or Rashad Penny.
All right, that's what I'm saying. Russell Wilson, he's he's going to step up. I like him this week.
And he has to throw to DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jacob Hollister, your boy.
So, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm not playing Marshawn Lynch. No way, Jose. I think I'm going to fire up Russell Wilson for one more round. Oh, gosh, he's burned me. He's underwhelmed me, but I think I'm going to fire him up. I'm probably going to leave Tyler Lockett on the bench and look at other ways. Well, he's burned me too. So
who are you going to start over him?
I'm pretty loaded at running back.
Stevie Sims.
I might give Stevie Sims a look. I looked at that suggestion, and he had 26 points last week, so that's pretty good.
And the week before that, he played well too.
So I've got some big decisions to make. I've got Perriman, I've got Allen Robinson, I've got Shark, I've got Devontae Parker. So I've got options at wide receiver without him.
Well, we definitely do.
Yeah, we do. So that was it for Week 17, and that was it for us for the regular season. We had a blast with you for this regular season, but don't forget, we'll be back for the playoffs, this wild card round, and we will have your daily fantasy, your DraftKings ready for next week. For this week, join our Big Fish DraftKings Challenge. Join us.
Please.
We want you, your brother, your mother, your sister, your wife, your husband, your cousin, anybody, your aunts, your uncles, your coworkers, everybody you played in a league with that's sitting on their butts not playing fantasy football this week needs to be playing with us. Look for that invite on Twitter at Brawl Fantasy, BrawlFantasy. Big Fish Fantasy Football DraftKings. It's free. Did I mention it's free? It doesn't cost you anything to see if you're smarter than us, which you're not, but you can try. Give it a go. Join the contest. It's more fun when you play. It's more fun when your friends play. We just want to see how many people we can get and who can be the best DraftKings player for Week 17. I appreciate our experts joining us this week. Joah Rosie is on Twitter at 72StrobBro.
Yes, I am.
Berry is on Twitter at LBerry_40, the Masters Man. It's been a blast. Follow us all on Twitter at Brawl Fantasy, BrawlFantasy. Give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. It would be your Christmas gift to us. It takes you 3 seconds. We would love it. Go through and hit all the Brawl Network podcasts with that 5-star review so we can all be seen just a little bit easier by out there in podcast land.
Check out the new Dolphins Brawl. They're looking good.
They're looking great. It's going to be Dolphins Brawl. It's going to be Packers Titletown Brawl for the Packers podcast. You got Hallis Hall Brawl is our friends with Austin Fantastic and Blake Hantho, the only DraftKings winner. It's been blast, man. Go win for Week 17. Get that second half comeback that you need. Hold on and win on the second half. Whatever situation you're in, win Week 17. Win your championship. Celebrate your fantasy football season. Take those winnings that you win and buy yourself a Christmas gift. Buy yourself a Hanukkah gift or a New Year's gift with that winnings.
From Fanatics and StubHub.
StubHub, yeah. Did we mention StubHub this week?
No, mention them right now.
StubHub is the best place to get your tickets. If you're looking to get those playoff tickets for Wild Card Week, go to www.thebearsbrawl.com/StubHub. My friend is going to the Hawks and Bucks game on Friday. Going to go see Giannis play with Trae Young, and he used www.thebearsbrawl.com/StubHub. The best place for all your ticket needs. Partner with them by partnering with us and go see a lot of live games and shows, any event. Use that
Concerts, games,
www.thebearsbrawl.com/StubHub. Thank you all so much. It was a great week. We will talk to you next week as we prepare you for the playoffs.
Hell yeah.
Peace.